Hey, what's good, everybody? Today we'll talk about how to reverse type 2 diabetes. So, in the last couple of videos, we talked about what type 2 diabetes was and the mechanisms underlying the pathophysiology behind the disease. So, essentially, how one ends up getting the disease. And in the end, we discussed if it was reversible, which we determined that it was reversible. And then I did talk about one step that you can take to reverse the disease, which was fasting. And then now in this video, I'm just going to go over in detail what exactly you can do to reverse type 2 diabetes. So it's a 5-step process, and this process it's a simple process. It's not necessarily an easy process. It does require a lot of consistency, but it is a simple process nonetheless, and anyone could understand these steps and then apply them immediately, apply them today. And depending on how religious you are about applying these 5 steps to your daily life, you could actually see your diabetes be reversed within weeks to months. So, depending on how religious you are about this process, it might actually not really take long at all to reverse your type 2 diabetes. So, with all that being said, let's get into it. The first step that is needed to reverse your type 2 diabetes is something that I like to call increasing your level of swagger. And let me write that down on my whiteboard here. Okay, let me see if you can see this. So yeah, step 1 is to increase your level of swagger. So what do I mean by this? I simply mean you need to basically increase the amount of confidence that you have in yourself. You could replace the word swagger with the word confidence, maybe with the word charisma, or you could say, adopt a positive attitude, adopt a positive mindset, whatever term you want to put in there. But it just simply means to know what you want to do and figure out how you're going to do it. Know what you want to do and why you want to do it, and then figure out how you want to do it. So in this case, you have a certain disease that you want to reverse. So your doctor may have told you that this is a chronic disease. He or she may have given you 1 or 2 medications, probably metformin, for starters, and told you that, we're going to increase this dose in a certain amount of weeks, and, you need to monitor your blood glucose, etc., but probably didn't give you any information about how you can, not have the disease in the first place. So you might have lost confidence. Like maybe you actually believe that you have no control over the disease process. So to increase your level of swagger just simply means have full confidence in yourself that you can reverse it. In the last video, we went over the pathophysiology behind it and how it was reversible and why it was reversible. So after watching that video, you should be fully confident in your ability to reverse the disease. And at this point, now you just need to take action on it. So maybe you could write down your reasons for wanting to reverse your diabetes. It might be just to feel healthier. It might be for your family. You might have certain fitness goals you want to reach, or just certain lifestyle goals you might want to reach. So basically this step just means having confidence in yourself that you can do whatever you put your mind to, and then actually set a goal in your mind to go achieve. And if you do those 2 things, you basically completed step 1. And step 1 is probably about maybe 60% of the process in terms of actually reversing your disease. Once you complete step 1 and you have the swagger, and then the proper mindset, then you're already more than halfway there to actually reversing the disease. So yeah, that's step one. And then step two would be kind of what we talked about in the last video, which is fasting. Step two. Okay, so yeah, we did go over this a little bit in the last video. It could be intermittent fasting, it could be long-term fasting, like maybe a 2, 3, 4, 5 day fast, like a water-only fast. But like regardless of what type of fasting that you choose to do, the whole purpose of fasting is to simply not take in the excess carbohydrates that you took in order to have the disease in the first place. So as you fast, you give your body time to process all of those carbs, which your body turned into fat through de novo lipogenesis. Yeah, so you're giving your body time to process all of the carbohydrates that you took in, and the carbohydrates that your body turned into fat due to de novo lipogenesis and stored in your visceral cavity and elsewhere in your body. You're just giving your body time to process all of that stuff and burn it off and use it as energy. So, and then in burning these fat cells, then you will slowly begin to lose that visceral fat that is causing you to, that's causing your organ function, like your liver and pancreas, to be dysfunctional, which causes the type 2 diabetes. So fasting is definitely a key. A lot of people do different types of fasting. So like you might hear the term 16-8, 17-7, and that just means like a 16-8 is when you don't eat for 16 hours, then you have an 8-hour feeding window. Or 17-7 is when you don't eat for 17 hours, then you have a 7-hour feeding window. So just determine what works best for you, and that would be intermittent fasting. So determine what works best for you. Maybe like you can eat from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. Ultimately, whatever works with your schedule, but make sure that you are not eating nearly as frequently as you do now. That would be the key. And you can always start from where you are now and then work back slowly. The quicker that you do it, the quicker that your condition will reverse. But whatever works, whatever time pace works for you. And if you want to do, if you're brave enough to do long-term fasting, like maybe a 3-day water-only fast, then you'll see a lot of progress in those 3 days. And it will be hard the first couple days because your body has a schedule that it's used to eating at. So like you're gonna get really hungry during the times that you normally eat. But if you can get past that first day, that second day, then it will be a lot easier, like come that third, fourth day. And if you can continue down that path, like let's say you do a 5-day fast, a 5-day water-only fast, then your body will just tear through that visceral fat and use all of that as energy, and then you'll be well on your way to reversing the disease. So fasting is key, whether it's intermittent or a more traditional long-term fast. That is very key, and that's step 2 of the process. So now we'll go into step 3, and step 3 is all about your diet. Let me do this. Yeah, step 3, improve your diet. So this, improving your diet, it goes a little bit back to the fasting, in terms of the purpose. So the purpose of improving your diet is simply to get those excess carbohydrates out of your diet. The first thing when it comes to your diet, the first goal you want to have is to cut out the sugar. I know it's hard to completely cut out sugar, and then you might be eating foods where you don't even know that it has like a certain amount of sugar in it. But just cut off, first of all, you want to cut off the obvious offenders. So if you're adding sugar to your food, let's say you eat oatmeal and then you just add multiple teaspoons of sugar, obviously cut that out. Now, let's say you like to drink, I don't know, some drink, like a sugary drink. Like, let's say you like to drink sodas or fruit juices that you can even look on the nutrition facts and ingredients of those products, and then you can see how much sugar they put. Like I put in the last video, a normal can of cola has 40 grams of sugar. Like, and this is just straight sugar. Like, so this is stuff that your liver takes in and tries to store, but if you already have too much of it, then that's the stuff that just circulates your bloodstream continuously. So you want to cut out that stuff. And then there's also things like high fructose corn syrup, which is essentially sugar too. It's fructose, high fructose corn syrup. Things like that. And those are obvious offenders. And then there are also, fruits do also have a lot of sugar in them. Certain fruits, like pineapples, for example, bananas, they also have fiber in them. So it's not as bad necessarily, because your body, it takes more time for your body to get to the sugar because of the fiber. But in the end, at the end of the day, it still does add sugar load to your body. So maybe cut down on certain fruits like pineapples and bananas if you can. And then in terms of what you do want to eat, you want to eat like whole food. Now, some people eat just all meat, like a carnivore diet. I don't know, you may have heard this term before, and that's what works for them. Let's say you had Eskimo ancestors. It would make sense that eating all meat might work for you. For most people, I wouldn't recommend that, but you have to see what works for you. For me, I do eat a lot of fruits because I don't necessarily have problems with my blood sugar, so I do eat fruits. Vegetables, regardless of whether you have problems with your blood sugar or not, vegetables are definitely a good place to start in terms of eating. Like, so broccoli, you could eat, like leafy green vegetables as a whole, like maybe some kale too. You could eat all of that. Peanuts. Peanut nuts are an interesting thing because there are things called lectins that are in peanuts that a lot of people say are really bad for you. Some people say that your body can tolerate these. It really just, it depends on what your body can tolerate. So you have to do a little bit of experimenting. For me, peanuts are pretty good. For me, I'm allergic to walnuts, for example, so like I couldn't eat that. But if your body can tolerate walnuts, go ahead and eat those. I know they have less lectins in them than peanuts. But yeah, whole foods, meats. Like if you're, an omnivore, like most humans, you can take in meats and some. Like, I don't really eat much red meat personally. I usually eat more lean meat, like turkey and chicken. But as long as it's like whole food, then that's a safer bet than processed and packaged food. So, and then also cut out the sugar in terms of your diet. And that's step number 3, and that will really help. It will go a long way in terms of improving your type 2 diabetes and ultimately reversing the condition. So step 4 is sleep. Step 4, sleep. So sleep is really important for recovery. During sleep, your body basically recovers from the day. Whatever crap that you may have done to your body, when you sleep, then it attempts to repair all of that damage. So if you have something like diabetes, then you have damage to your liver, damage to your pancreas, and damage to your blood vessels that need to be repaired. So those are like the probably the biggest things that are damaged that need to be repaired. And then also you do have damage, depending on how long you've had diabetes, you have damage to your damage to your kidneys, damage to your intestines even, depending on the diet you're eating, and then also damage to your brain. So you want to recover all of those organs and organ systems, and sleep is the biggest place where repair happens. So you want to optimize that sleep. And then another reason for sleeping is to help with the fasting. So like when we were talking about 18:8, 17:7, theoretically 6 to 8 hours of those 16 or 17-hour non-feeding windows should be sleeping. So if you're sleeping for 8 hours, all of a sudden a 16:8 doesn't seem that bad because it's only 8 hours that you're actually awake, which you're not eating. So when it's put in that light, then it doesn't seem that impossible to do. So sleeping really helps with repair, and then also helps with just giving your body enough time to burn through all of that excess energy that you've had stored up. Okay, and then the last step, the least important step, but it's a very important step in being a healthy human being in general, is exercise. Okay, step 5, exercise. So yeah, like I said, in terms of reversing diabetes, it's number 5 on our list, meaning it's the least important. But exercise is nonetheless, it's a really important thing to do in general. If your goal is to just be a healthy, properly functioning human being, then exercise is paramount. In terms of reversing your diabetes, what exercise can do is it can just help your muscle tissue be more receptive to glucose. So if you have type 2 diabetes, you have insulin resistance, meaning that your cells are having trouble responding to insulin and taking up glucose when insulin comes calling. So if you exercise, your muscles will essentially use energy. So any time you're using energy without taking in more energy, it's going to help you reverse the type 2 diabetes, because if you're not taking in energy and your body still needs to use energy, it's going to take it from where it can get it. And then if you have type 2 diabetes, you have a lot of energy stores just in your body, like a lot of potential energy in your body that can be used. Like there are a lot of molecules, namely glucose and adipocytes, so fat cells, or triglycerides essentially, a lot of molecules that can be used for energy. So when if you're working your muscles and then they need ATP to contract, then you'll be burning off that fat and using that glucose in order to provide your muscles with the necessary energy that they need. So, if your muscles are more receptive to incoming glucose, then that is just another way of burning off the stores that you already have. And then just as like a proxy to this, exercising will just help your muscles grow in the first place and get more toned. The bigger and more toned your muscles are, the more glucose that they need in a resting state. So over time, this will help you to keep the excess energy stores off, because your resting body will need more energy, if that makes sense. And it will use that energy more efficiently because you've trained it to. So that's pretty much the 5-step process. As a review, as a review, you need to, 1, increase your level of swagger, aka confidence, aka mindset. 2, you need to start fasting, and this can be intermittent fasting or long-term fasting if you're brave enough. 3 is just improve your diet, which basically means really try to really limit the amount of glucose, fructose, basically carbs that you're taking in. Oh yeah, and alcohol too. Alcohol is a big one because alcohol is essentially just a bunch of empty carbs. So if you can basically cut out all alcohol, that would really help. So 3, improve your diet. Cut out the sugars and try to eat whole foods and stop alcohol. Number 4 is sleep. And sleeping will help with the intermittent fasting, and it will also help your body repair the organs and blood vessels that it needs to. And then number 5 is exercise. And exercise will just help your muscles become more receptive to glucose, and it will help your body use the energy that it has more efficiently in a resting state. So yeah, that is basically how you reverse type 2 diabetes. So after watching this video, you have no excuse. It's all up to you to reverse your condition and get off all those drugs that you're on that don't do much to reverse your condition. Yeah, and that's all I got. I'll see you guys in the next video.